This guy won 11 championships. And this guy, well, he's basically the owner of the NBA record book. And while these two legends were battling out for NBA supremacy, there was a player that won the MVP award over them. For some, that's not surprising to hear. After all, there were many great players that were around during this time. You have Oscar Robertson, Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, Bob Pettit, and Willis Reed, just to name a few. But for the season that we're talking about, none of those players were the ones that won the MVP. In fact, it was a rookie that won the most prestigious individual award in basketball. Can you guess which player I'm referring to? The player we're talking about is Wes Unseld.
What in the world?
That's right, it was Wes Unseld that the players of the league chose to win the MVP in the 1968-69 season. If you think that's crazy, wait till you hear the stat line that he recorded. He averaged 13.8 points per game on 47.6% shooting, 18.2 rebounds per game, and 2.6 assists per game. Yeah, not exactly MVP-like numbers. As far as his per-game rankings, he finished 47th in points and 5th in rebounds. From a statistical standpoint, there is absolutely no reason for him to have won the MVP. As you can guess from the sound of my voice, I was not alive during this time, but I can say for certainty that he was not considered the best player in the world. It's just common sense. So why on earth did he win the MVP? Believe it or not, he does have an intriguing case. The biggest thing that swayed his peers to select him was the way he turned that franchise around so quickly. In the previous year, the Baltimore Bullets had a record of 36-46. They missed the playoffs, but that wasn't due to a lack of talent. Their roster consisted of Hall of Famer Gus Johnson, a rookie Earl Monroe, and Don Knoll. If you don't know who Don Knoll is, all you need to know is that he made 5 consecutive All-Star appearances between 1963 to 1967. He was a perennial All-Star player at the shooting guard position. So the Bullets had a respectable amount of talent, but they still ended up with the worst record in the Eastern Division. Then they selected this human tank from the University of Louisville, and he added 21 more wins to this team. They went from the worst team in the Eastern Division one year to the best team in the next. In fact, they had the best record in the league. So I can't really blame the players for selecting Unseld to be the most valuable player when he caused such a major turnaround. He embodied the whole meaning of that award. What also drew him so much attention was the fact that he didn't affect winning in the traditional sense. He wasn't a dominant scorer, and he wasn't a great shot blocker as the other centers of the league were. Instead, he affected games in a more subtle way. He was an exceptional rebounder. He would set these bone-crushing picks that made it seem like you were running into the Thing from the Fantastic Four, and he made the greatest outlet passes that you've ever seen. I honestly believe that he is the GOAT in that specific aspect. I've seen clips of this man grabbing a rebound, turning around, and then throwing a chest pass 3/4 of the length of the floor that hit his man right on target. And he did it all in one motion. You would have loved playing for this man, and I believe that also has something to do with the way this team improved. He changed the culture of a franchise that was never seriously considered to win a championship throughout its brief history. He was never about the numbers, but that doesn't mean he didn't have a few noteworthy games. There were 9 occasions where he had at least 20 points and 20 rebounds. That also includes one game where he had over 20 points and 30 rebounds. And the fact that he played a huge role in the Baltimore/Washington Bullets winning 1 title and 3 finals appearances proves how valuable he was. I don't want to sound like I'm disrespecting this legend. He certainly had his moments, but for the most part, he was not a dominant player. So why give him the MVP award? The main reason is that he led the Bullets to the best record in the league. They were not expected to have that kind of success at the beginning of the season. The fact that they overachieved was very impressive, especially when you consider who their competition was. They had a better record than the Los Angeles Lakers, who had Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, and Wilt Chamberlain. Wilt was a reigning 3-time MVP, and he joined forces with two of the greatest players at the time. Even they couldn't win as many games as this team, for reasons that I mentioned in my most recent video that I encourage everyone to watch later. The Bullets have more victories than the defending champions, Boston Celtics. They faced each other 7 times during the season, and they won 5 times. That was an accomplishment that wasn't being taken lightly. They also had more victories than the New York Knicks, the team that was 1 year away from winning the title and producing one of the greatest seasons of all time. So Unseld was being rewarded for elevating his team over others that had more talent. As far as his individual stats, maybe his contemporaries thought that his numbers were just good enough. If Bill Russell could win the award while averaging 14.1 points per game in the 1964-65 season, then Unseld averaging a few decimal points less shouldn't be a problem. That could be the reasoning behind it. Now, does this mean that the players rewarded the right player? In my opinion, they did not. There are various players that I believe were more deserving. For example, either Elgin Baylor or Wilt Chamberlain would have been a good choice. Baylor finished 3rd in points, 9th in assists, and he averaged double-figure rebounds. This legend never won the MVP, and it would have been nice to give him at least one. As far as Wilt, he averaged over 20 points and 20 rebounds. He even led the league in rebounds and field goal percentage. But the reasons why they were snubbed was the same reason why LeBron James was infamously snubbed in the 2010-11 season when he lost the award to Derrick Rose. Everyone had insane expectations for this super team to win just about every game, and they fell tremendously short. The way that the league viewed this team is reflective of the fact that Wilt Chamberlain wasn't voted in the top 5 for the MVP. Another interesting candidate was Billy Cunningham. He averaged the same amount of points as Elgin Baylor did, except he finished 10th in rebounds. He played for the Philadelphia 76ers. You know, the team that lost Wilt Chamberlain for Darryl Imhoff, Jerry Chambers, and Archie Clark. Despite being the victims of one of the most lopsided trades ever, the Sixers won 55 games, which was tied for the 2nd best record. And guess which team they were tied with? The Lakers, the team Wilt decided to play for. Nobody was expecting Philly to stay this dominant after losing the best player in the world, but Billy made it all possible. Willis Reed was another great candidate who helped the Knicks increase their win total by 11 games from the previous year. And the fact that he recorded identical numbers to his 1970 MVP season makes him an obvious choice. As far as Bill Russell, let's just say that his MVP playing days were over. But as far as winning championships, he was looking to add a toe ring since he had a ring for every finger. So those 4 players were all more deserving of the MVP. Just think about it. Why wasn't this player selected to be an All-Star or to be in the All-NBA the following year while putting up better numbers? Maybe it's because after all that hype died out, they realized that his talent level wasn't up there with the best of the best. One stat that really puts his season in his right perspective is that he produced the lowest points per game average from an MVP winning player. In most cases, you will be debating if those numbers are good enough to make the All-Star team, and that's exactly what happened the following year. There just has to be the right balance between having a successful season in terms of wins and losses, and putting up great numbers to end up with the MVP. I don't think it's fair to place an asterisk on this MVP season, but it should most certainly come with context.